aside from the kind of creepiness that Trump talks about himself now as if he were the founder of a religion, there's the problem that he's also admitting straight up that he's learned his lesson, that he will attack the guardrails. We talk about the guardrails holding. And before, I think people imagined Trump as this kind of wild, careening, out of control car, pursuing policies and trying to get certain things done on behalf of the American right. That's not what's really happening. I think they've all stopped and said the real objective here is not to govern or pass anything. It's to destroy those guardrails. He said this morning in an interview, I appointed a bunch of people who turned out not to be, as supportive of all these terrible things that I want to do as I thought, and I won't make that mistake again. The next time I'll make sure that, he basically said the next time he'll make sure that there is absolutely nobody with even an ounce of ethics or courage if he's reelected. And I think people, I understand your point about playing the any kind of Trump tape, but I do think it's important that people hear him talking about himself as this cultish figure and making it very clear that what he intends to do is not govern or pass any particular policy, but to destroy any remaining obstacles to Donald Trump being in complete power to do anything he wants.
Right, Frank, especially because if we consider him to be a cult figure and you think about his following, it is not he alone who is doing the damage to public trust. You, Frank, have been sounding the alarm about attacks specifically on the FBI. And it's not just Trump. You also have GOP lawmakers who are undermining the agency. Talk to me about the damage that is doing and what it would take to be undone.
Yeah, we saw a travesty of what was supposed to be an oversight hearing for the Judiciary Committee last Wednesday and turned into quite a debacle of simply death by 1,000 cuts, which is what they're trying to do to the FBI as well as other institutions. Look, I'm all for oversight, hard questions of our law enforcement and intelligence community. There are lots of important things to talk about, whether the FISA Act, which allows national security eavesdropping, court-ordered, should be renewed. That's coming up. Whether the FBI should be talking or not to social media platforms, whether the FBI is or is not purchasing commercial data that may or may not violate our privacy. Those are deep discussions we need to have in an oversight hearing that simply didn't happen because Jim Jordan and his cohorts wanted to destroy the director and really the rank and file men and women of the FBI. And as Tom mentioned, what you see in the audio you played of Trump here is he's not just playing victim himself, saying, hey, they're coming after me. He's saying they're coming after you. The they part is the institutions of our government. So if you turn this and say, it's not just coming after me, everyone is victimized by our very institutions, you literally are eroding the values that incorporate our democracy.
Right. And Joyce, you have the Washington Post reporting that DOJ has spent almost $2 million on security details for special counsel Jack Smith, for other officials. I just need us to stop and pause for a minute, Joyce, and talk about how deeply this whole thing is deeply unusual, but that piece deeply unusual as well.
You know, as a prosecutor, and I'm sure that Frank had this same experience, you understood that sometimes people that you were investigating or prosecuting were not going to be happy with you. And some very limited subset of those individuals would actually take it a step forward. They might threaten you. In extreme cases, contracts were taken out on prosecutors, or there were even a couple of cases where folks in law enforcement were harmed by people who were not interested in coming under the auspices of the criminal justice system. What I never expected as a prosecutor, and what none of these people on the special counsel's team should be forced to confront, is the notion that the former president of the United States would be the one triggering those attacks on them. It's heinous, it's unacceptable. And the real flaw that's being exposed in today's Republican Party is that they're not standing up with a unified voice and condemning it. The FBI, prosecutors, are people who uphold one of the foundational democratic institutions that permits this country to remain a democracy. When the attack is coming from the inside, something is seriously wrong.